Well, hello everyone, welcome back guys. Hope you all are doing well. This is Mohammad Badruddin and today we are going to solve lab number 6 from web cache poisoning vulnerability module. So this is going to be the last lab from design flaw of cache. And before going further, this little disclaimer as always for you. This video and its content are only for educational and awareness purpose and I do not support any unethical or illegal act. That's been said, let's go and we will see what this lab is all about. So combining web cache poisoning vulnerabilities. Combining web cache poisoning vulnerability means maybe there are more than one request which we need to poison and store in the cache to achieve the goal or successful exploit. So this lab is susceptible to web cache poisoning, but only if you construct a complex exploit chain. A user visits the home page roughly once a minute and their language is set to English. To solve the lab, poison the cache with a response that executes alert document.cookie in the visitor's browser. Fine. First thing first, if you did not watch the lab number 5 video, please go and watch that video because a huge part of that video is going to be implemented here in this lab, because there is a part of DOM based XSS and the course which I already explained in the lab number 5. So that's been said, what I did is to save the time, I already make a request here and I already sent this request to the parameter miner to brute force the headers. So get back to the lab here. I'm going to start or enable the burp proxy on my browser. And what I'm going to do here is, you can see this lab contains the language feature. So with that feature, you can choose any language you want, whatever available here. Okay, now the thing is, there are two headers. So the first one is X forwarded host and the second one is X original URL. So let's see where we can implement that. So the first thing first, I'm going to first see how this application behaves once I try to change the language. So let's change the language from English to Spanish. And if I come back to burp proxy, here you can see once I set from English to Spanish, this endpoint is called and it is going to redirect our request to this localized equal to 1. And if you see this request localized is equal to 1, so in the cookie there is one more parameter, cookie parameter is added, which is language is equal to ES, right? And here in this request, the interesting part is this host header, this JSON data value, which is host, and the path. Fine. And the same resource is called here, which is resource.js and translation.js, which you can see here also, it's going to be called. And what's inside this translation.js file, this is the data, which is a function, Java function initial translation. Okay. And it is calling the JSON URL. This URL it's going to take from here, right? Same as previous lab. So what we need to do here, the first thing first, we need to try to put here X forwarded host, and we will try to change this. We will see if with that header, X forwarded host header, we can change this host or not. So I'm going to send this request to the repeater, go to the repeater, send this request again, X forwarded host, and its value is going to be anything, let's say aaa.cc, and send this request. So as you can see, once we send this request, the host value is changed. Okay, and this host value is same what we specified. Fine. Now this URL is going to be picked here. That means what I'm going to do, the first thing, going to exploit server, and in the exploit server I'm going to change this resource, where is it, this one. So I'm going to take this value, copy that back to the response, back to the exploit server, paste that here. No, not this one. Where is JSON? This one, resource JSON, because this here in this JSON file there are all the languages, right? So take this, because the Java function is going to call this. Okay, back to the exploit server and paste it here. Now I already explained in the lab number 5, so I'm not going to explain it here, but here what we need to put here is access control allow origin. So we need to allow every origin from wherever the request come, the shared resources come, it should accept, right? Now the thing is, here we need to put what we want to load once the user is going to choose language. So from here I'm going to just choose this and come back to the exploit server, paste it here, and we need to enclose it. Generate an alert. So to generate an alert, what we can do here is image source is equal to capital X and on error. So first of all it will see this source. Once it is not going to get anything, it will throw an error condition, and on error it is going to generate an alert. So alert is going to be document.cookie. Fine, and let's put here slash. Okay, store this. And one more thing, we need to enclose it like that. Fine. Okay, now once we enclose this and store the exploit, if we go back and if we try, the first thing is we need to actually, let's just send this request to the repeater, come to the repeater, send this request again. But here this time what we need to do is we need to put here, let's say x forwarded host, and the x forwarded host value is going to be your exploit server. So this is our exploit server. Copy that back here, paste it. Okay, and send the request. Okay, so the user already visited the page. Now as you can see, our exploit server is added here. So if we come back here and we try to refresh this, localize is equal to 1, where we already set the Spanish language, we should get here alert. Okay, we get here alert, and as you can see the cookie is there. Fine, this is the first part, and that means we can store the malicious response in the cache and we get what we need. The thing here to be point out that this XSS vulnerability is the DOM based XSS vulnerability, because if you see this function here, you have a source and a sink. Okay, now the most important part in this function is this last line. So as you can see here, the default language is set to English. The problem is whenever any user come to visit this application, by default the user will get the English page, or the language loaded with the page is English, and you cannot change that within this request. I mean by this approach. You cannot change by default the language to Spanish, from English to Spanish. So what you need to do here is we can see here request header, which is X original URL. So we can use this header, okay, with the base request, which is this, okay, and instead of X forwarded for, here I am going to specify X original URL, and the URL is going to be what is going to be this one, right? Because you can see here, whenever you change any language, it is going to redirect you here, right here. So what we do, if we put here X original URL and we specify this endpoint here in the main request, so it will executed, it will be processed, and we will be redirected to the Spanish language. Okay, so come back here. This is the main page which will be loaded with the English as default language, but here what I am going to try that this one. So I'm going to copy this path or endpoint and come back to here, just put this, right, and send this. So as you can see, it is sending us to the localized equal to 1. Okay, what we can do here, let's try this, right? So come back here and just make it home. Come back to the proxy, go up. This is the first one. And as you can see, once it's loaded, this is the request, right? So it's already redirected our request to this endpoint, and this endpoint is called. And once this endpoint is called, this endpoint is again going to redirect us to the localized is equal to 1, which has the cookie set to Spanish. So now this is the path to exploit this vulnerability in a chain. Now if we come back here, you can see, okay, let's go and do this one more time to be sure. Just send this request again. Okay, it is inside the cache now. Come back here, and this time instead of localized, I'm just going to hit enter here. And as you can see, it is again redirected to localized. Why? Because here we set the original URL is setlang es, which is going to redirect us to this endpoint, and this endpoint again going to redirect us where? This endpoint is going to redirect us to the localized one, this one, right? So now the chain is working perfect, but the thing is we are not getting here alert. Why? Because now we need to cache both of these response in the cache at the same time. And how we will do that? So the first thing is you need to first cache this malicious response so that your exploit server will be cached already in the cache, and then you have to cache this malicious response so that whenever anyone come to access the default page, which is by default in English, but what it does, it will send it will redirect that request to the Spanish, and then it is going to load the JSON file, the JSON resource from exploit server, and exploit server will have the alert right here. Okay, right here. So that's it. Let's go. So keep in mind that first of all, we need to cache this one. So just send this request and make sure you have miss here, and send this request again, but this one gets hit. That means this response is came from the user who visit in every 1 minute. So we need to wait. Let's just keep this in the cache and send it again, and this time we get miss here. That means both of the responses in the cache. Now leave that and hit enter. So once we hit enter, we should get alert here now. We get or not? No, maybe this cache is empty. Send this request again. Oh, okay, let's wait. 23, send again. 28, send again. 0, that means it is in cache. Send this again. This is again in cache, and it's redirected before because it was in the cache, because between both of these requests there is a time gap. And yes, we get hit here. Now if we try to come back to the proxy, and we can see this chain is completed. Now make sure, because we need that exploit for the user who is visiting the web page every after 1 minute or within 1 minute. So we need to keep our exploit server and these two malicious responses in the cache, so that when the user visit that page, the malicious response must be retrieved from the cache. Okay, so keep that in mind. Go back, and this time come back here, send this request, send this request. We have exploit server here, and here this is the problem, because we have the time gap between the cache, between these two responses. Now this response is malicious response, but this response is the genuine response. Okay, send this again. Okay, keep sending it. Now this time it's okay, fine. Send this response again, and send this response again. Back to the browser. Let's wait for the user to visit it. Till then we need to just keep update both of these. Okay, that's why this lab is a bit tricky. We are getting responses, but there is a gap between cache time. Exploit server is here, and this is okay. Send again, send again, come back here. And here you can see now it takes the genuine response cache. But okay, we get the message that we solved the lab, because before the cache get empty and get this original or genuine response, the user visited the page. So that's it for this video. If you like the content, please like, subscribe and share. See you in the next video. Bye.